first known use of the word computer was in 1613 in a book called The Young Man's Gleanings, by an English writer, Richard Braithwaite. This usage of the term referred to a person who carried out calculations or computations. From the end of the 19th century, the word began to take on its more familiar meaning, a machine that carries out computations. It all began with abacus, which was the first computing device, originally from Asia. It worked on a place value notion, meaning that the place of a bead or rock on the apparatus determined how much it was worth. In the 1600s, John Napier of Merkhiston created Napier bones. Napier bones was a manually operated, calculating device for calculation of products and quotients of numbers. In 1642, Blaise Pascal invented the mechanical calculator, called Pascaline. This calculating machine could add and subtract two numbers directly, and multiply and divide by repetition. In 1812, Charles Babbage, an English mechanical engineer and polymath, originated the concept of a programmable computer. Considered the father of the computer, he conceptualized and invented the first mechanical computer in the early 19th century. After working on his revolutionary difference engine, designed to aid in navigational calculations, in 1833 he realized that a much more general design, an analytical engine, was possible. The difference engine was capable of computing several sets of numbers and making hard copies of the results. But in the 1840s, Ada Lovelace, world's first computer programmer, provided the first algorithm intended to be processed by Charles Babbage's early mechanical general-purpose computer, the analytical engine. She suggested that a binary system should be used for storage rather than a decimal system. In the 1850s, George Boole developed Boolean logic, which is now being used in the design of computer circuitry. In the 1890s, Dr. Herman Hollerith introduced the first electromechanical punched card data processing machine, which was used to compile information for the 1890 United States Census. Hollerith's tabulator became so successful that he started his own business to market it. His company would eventually become International Business Machines, IBM. The Z1 was created by German Konrad Zuse in his parents' living room between 1936 and 1938. It is considered to be the first electromechanical binary programmable computer, and the first really functional modern computer. The Colossus was the first electric programmable computer, developed by Tommy Flowers, and first demonstrated in December 1943. The Colossus was created to help the British code breakers read encrypted German messages. In 1943, British mathematician Alan Turing developed a hypothetical device, the Turing machine, which would be designed to perform logical operation and could read and write. In 1945, Turing joined the National Physical Laboratory and began work on developing an electronic stored program digital computer. His 1945 report, that is the proposed electronic calculator, was the first specification for such a device. John von Neumann at the University of Pennsylvania also circulated his first draft of a report on the EDVAC in 1945. The Manchester Small-Scale Experimental Machine, nicknamed Baby, was the world's first stored program computer. It was built at the Victoria University of Manchester, by Frederick C. Williams, Tom Kilburn and Jeff Tootill, and ran its first program on June 21, 1948. It was designed as a test bed for the Williams tube, the first random access digital storage device. Although the computer was considered small and primitive by the standards of its time, but it was the first working machine to contain all of the elements essential to a modern electronic computer. After these inventions, Howard Aiken, in collaboration with engineers from IBM, constructed a large automatic digital sequence-controlled computer called the Harvard Mark I. This computer could handle all four arithmetic operations, and had special built-in programs for logarithms and trigonometric functions. In 1946, the electrical numerical integrator and calculator abbreviated as ENIAC was developed, by John W. Mauchly and J. Presper Eckert Jr. at the University of Pennsylvania. It used 18,000 vacuums, punch card input, weighed 30 tons and occupied a 30 by 50 foot space. It was Turing complete, digital and able to solve a large class of numerical problems through reprogramming. ENIAC could be programmed to perform complex sequences of operations, including loops, branches, and subroutines. However, instead of the stored program computers that exist today, ENIAC was just a large collection of arithmetic machines, which had programs hard-coded into the machines with function tables, that each contained 1,200 10-way switches. The first generation computers ranges from 1951 to 1959. In 1951, Mauchly and Eckert built the UNIVAC I, the first computer designed and sold commercially, specifically for business data processing applications. Dr. Grace Murray Hopper developed the UNIVAC I compiler. In 1957, the programming language Fortran, formula translator, was designed by John Backus, an IBM engineer. Computers started to modernize, with the inventions of transistors and integrated circuits. The bipolar transistor was invented in 1947. From 1955 onwards, transistors replaced vacuum tubes in computer designs, giving rise to the second generation of computers. Compared to vacuum tubes, transistors have many advantages. They are smaller, and require less power than vacuum tubes, so give off less heat. Silicon junction transistors were much more reliable than vacuum tubes and had longer, indefinite, service life. Transistorized computers could contain tens of thousands of binary logic circuits in a relatively compact space. The next great advance in computing power came with the advent of the integrated circuit. Jack St. Clair Kilby and Robert Noyce, of Texas Instruments manufactured the first integrated circuit, or chip, which is a collection of tiny little transistors. The second generation computers ranges from 1959 to 1965. In 1960s, Gene Amdahl designed the IBM System 360 series of mainframe computers, the first general-purpose digital computers to use integrated circuits. In 1961, Dr. Hopper was instrumental in developing the COBOL, Common Business-Oriented Language, programming language. In 1963, Ken Olsen, founder of DEC, produced the PDP-1, the first mini-computer. In 1965, BASIC, Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code, programming language was developed by Dr. Thomas Kurtz and Dr. John Kemeny. The third-generation computers ranges from 1965 to 1971. The biggest revolution, the Internet, started in 1969. In 1970, Dr. Ted Hoff developed the famous Intel 4004 microprocessor chip. A year later, Intel released the first microprocessor, a specialized integrated circuit which was able to process 4 bits of data at a time. It also included its own arithmetic logic unit. The fourth-generation computers began from 1971. In 1975, Ed Roberts, the father of the microcomputer, designed the first microcomputer, the Altair 8800, which was produced by Micro Instrumentation and Telemetry Systems, MITS. The same year, two young hackers, William Gates and Paul Allen, approached MITS and promised to deliver a basic compiler. So they did, and from the sale, Microsoft was born. In 1976, Cray developed the Cray 1 supercomputer. Same year, on April 1, Apple Computer, Inc. was founded by Stephen Jobs and Stephen Wozniak. A year later, Jobs and Wozniak designed and built the first Apple II microcomputer. In 1980, IBM offers Bill Gates the opportunity to develop the operating system for its new IBM personal computer. By that time, Microsoft has achieved tremendous growth and success due to the development of MS-DOS. After a year, the IBM PC was introduced with a 16-bit microprocessor. In 1984, Apple introduced the Macintosh computer, which incorporated a unique graphical interface, making it easy to use. The same year, IBM released the 286 AT. In 1986, Compaq released the Desk Pro 386 computer, the first to use the 80036 microprocessor. In 1987, IBM announced the OS/2 operating system technology. In 1988, a non-destructive worm was introduced into the Internet network, bringing thousands of computers to a halt. A year later, the Intel 486 became the world's first 1 million transistor microprocessor. In 1993, several companies introduced computer systems using the Pentium microprocessor from Intel that contained 3.1 million transistors and was able to perform 112 million instructions per second. With the advancement of time, computers became more compact and fast, and can offer much more. Now, things like cloud computing and machine learning are in development for further advancement in the field of computer. If you like the content, hit the like button and don't forget to share and subscribe.